Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Bluebaggers Edge, and it is our second consecutive stream, which is a bit of a rarity on this channel. But we did promise those of you that got in touch with us to up the amount of live streams that we've been doing. Well, here we are. We are keeping our promise. So, welcome, one and all. Of course, this is the preview to the round 5 clash against the West Coast Eagles. I mean, it's funny now thinking back to pre-season when a lot of analysts were looking at our fixture and saying how easy our run is to start the season. And it's, of course, as we know, been anything but. We now, I guess, have reached a stage in our fixture that it should be a couple of easy wins, but it's far from the truth, as we know. Probably one of the worst in-form sides in the competition at the moment. And I mean, it's probably a good time of all, I guess, teams that we could face at this stage to be facing West Coast. But I am a little bit worried with regards to the fact that it may be a little bit of an issue, a little bit of a worry, because it could be papering over the cracks, which is always a worry. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see as to what transpires. But a couple of things to go through, of course, one of which we will be discussing is going through the team selection, and it's an ongoing issue, almost, I think, as much of an issue as our on-field form. I think our off-field form, when it comes to team selection, is among the worst, and something that has been, I guess, a constant from the latter part of 2024, which hasn't fixed itself. And it's really a worry, because to me it shows a lack of, I guess, knowledge with regards to, having the best player on the park, and, sort of projecting forward as to, the development side of things, dropping guys that probably shouldn't be dropped, and even more worrying, not making statements of particular players that aren't performing at senior level. Namely, of course, Mitch McGovern. Hate to say it, but of course, Sam Doherty's been terribly out of form, and he would, of course, be the first to admit that. Jesse Motlop's another one, and there's a few others as well. But let us get into the teams, because we will speak to those particularly ins and outs. And in doing so as well, whilst you're tuning into the live stream, we are keen to hear your thoughts. So if you are keen to vent your spleen, provide any insights, anything else, feel free to list them down below in the comment section. And we will as well put a link in the comment section. So if you are keen to jump on and have a little bit of a chat, we might try and contain this chat to maybe a half an hour live stream, because I'm conscious that the Friday night game kicks off at 7:40 as far as I'm aware. So feel free to jump on for a bit of a quick chat for 10 minutes or so. We might pop that up in a moment. But let's have a look at the teams. Let me just share my screen so we can, of course, get into the teams. But interesting time, as I said, with regards to where we find ourselves. And yep, it's kind of make or break. There's no really two ways about it. And I mean, when I saw the teams being released and it said there was 4 changes, as I said, my expectation off the back of, a side that's 0-4 would be to make statements. And the big, I guess, news coming out of the team selection was West Coast, our opponent, have made a big statement by dropping Tim Kelly, of course, one of their senior players as well. Perhaps hasn't been performing to his peak, much like a few of our players. And they had the, I guess, courage to make a statement by dropping one of their senior players. And, it's a player that they were sought after. They traded quite a few high draft picks to get, and, they weren't taking a backward step in coming forward in saying that there were a few guys that just weren't good enough. And I was hoping that we would do likewise. As I said, hearing that there were 4 changes, I, at the very least, expected McGovern to be one of those. Sam Doherty to be another one of those, and maybe a Jesse Motlop, but may have survived off the back of the fact that we just don't have any real depth or quality when it comes to small forwards. And outside of that, maybe a force change, as we know with Cowan going down with I think it was a hamstring injury that he had, and Harry Mackay returning, which we will speak to as well ever so briefly with regards to one of the big positives coming out of this game is the return of Harry Mackay, but then to open up and see the changes that were made for this game, wow. Okay, let's speak to them. So Harry Mackay speaks for itself. That lines up with Lewis Young being out. I think Lewis Young, to his credit, probably unfairly gets omitted, but was always a placeholder for Harry. So no real surprise there. Matty Cottrell coming into the team. I spoke about it in the review, or at least the preview for the Collingwood game, and I said that he was kind of one of those players that was inching towards being so out of form. I think that he probably deserved a rest anyway, aside from the fact that he was carrying a bit of a niggle heading into the Collingwood game, and of course was left out of the team. So to see him come back in, I don't agree with that, really. Matty Carroll, he's one guy that I think deserves to be in the team. I remember watching him in the practice game against the Saints, and he looked really, really composed, mature. For someone that we delisted and gave a last-minute lifeline to, it was almost like it revitalized him. I will admit I'd never seen him live, and to me it seemed like a player who had played multiple games at senior level, really good disposal, above all else, really good decision making, and I was actually expecting him to make his debut against Richmond in round one. Wasn't to be, and as I said at the time then, I think it was kind of understandable because with a team that was relatively fit in terms of injury list with regards to our defence, he now finds himself with an opportunity, which I hope he can take with both hands because with Lockie Cowan out, he of course will make his way back into the team when he is ready, but as an opportunity for Matty Carroll to get a bit of a taste at senior level and, see how he adjusts to the pace. So really excited with that. Corey Durden, I don't know what the fascination is with, selecting as many small forwards as we can. In previous weeks, we did so on the front of small forwards / pressure forwards with Frankie Evans, sidled up alongside Lockie Fogarty. Jesse Motlop's a small forward who should be applying pressure anyway in that role. And we've gone back to the well by bringing in Corey Durden, who I think, aside from obviously injury curtailing the back part of 2024 for him, I think it was this game last year that Corey Durden looked really good. He was kind of playing that high half-forward role, a little bit like Orazio Fantasia, but I thought he was really, really good in the role. Unfortunately, got injured and didn't see out the rest of the season. But again, just in terms of structure, I don't see the reason for going for another small forward. And if we were to reward, good form for Corey Durden, which is fair enough, and I think he had, double-figure tackles in the VFL, which we like to see. Again, it just seems to me they're rewarding a role to someone off the back of being a pressure forward. And it's obvious that the coaches are paying major emphasis on this. And, again, I'm all for rewarding form. And I said that in previous videos that I think we should be doing that more often for those players that are performing and showing good form in the seconds. But why do we need another small forward? We've got virtually Lockie Fogarty playing that role. We've got Jesse Motlop. We've got Corey Durden. We've got Will White. We don't need that many small forwards. I just do not understand it, really. Let's get to the outs now and the remainder. So as I said, Lewis Young, unfortunate but understandable. Lockie Cowan out injured. Ashton Moyer, I think probably warranted to go back to the VFL. I would have liked to have seen him get another crack at it, just consecutive games, get another taste. I mean, I'd much prefer to have a youngster in ahead of the likes of someone that isn't at, in any sort of form in Mitch McGovern. But again, I kind of understand structurally that we would, because Ashton Moy is more of a forward, we'd need to sort of make a change there. Now, it leads me to Cooper Lord. And this is probably the most frustrating of the lot. It seems to me over the seasons, there are players that the coaches, for whatever reason, and it's not coming from logic or structure or anything else, they seem to unfairly make, not really an example, but I guess probably not allowing certain players to have an extended run at senior level. Now, Cooper Lord, I think of all players, he's probably maybe in a handful of players that, when given the opportunity, has shown heart, has shown, decent form. And yet, and just in terms of disposal making as well, really good, great efficiency, great decision making, great pressure around the contest. And he's another player that can provide I guess, another option at the trenches. And yet he's been a sub in one of the games. He's been subbed out in another game. He's been dropped. And then he's been played probably not to the amount of opportunity that I think he deserves. And now he's out of the team again. I just do not understand what Voss and the coaching staff are expecting Cooper Lord. Like, what are they expecting him to do? What is he not doing? Because from what I see as a supporter in the stands, what he is doing is ticking boxes, much like he did in the latter part of 2024, and now he finds himself out of the team. Why? It just absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know. Am I alone here? Am I alone? Let me know in the comment section if you feel the exact same way. But I am so frustrated. Like, if I was Cooper Lord, I'd be scratching my head. In fact, I'd be knocking on Voss's door being like, mate, I just do not understand as to why I'm out of the team. Because I'm convinced he probably doesn't know what the reason is. It's just so perplexing. Like, considering we were so happy to get rid of Matt Kennedy, and it seemed as though the coaching staff were kind of grooming Cooper Lord to sort of step into that mold and into those shoes of Matt Kennedy anyway. The fact that he's out of the team, in and out of the team, as often as he is, just makes absolutely no sense. And as I said at the start of this video, I am losing so much confidence in not just Michael Voss, but the wider coaching staff in the way they approach each round from week to week, structurally dropping guys, not making examples of certain players that aren't performing at senior level. Like, does Michael Voss think that in showing faith to guys that are out of form, does that set a good example for the wider team? No, it doesn't. So what is he expecting? Like, if we are allowing guys to be gifted games, and I've spoken about this in the past, and virtually that's what it comes down to, and that's kind of the way that it can be construed, is if guys are not being held accountable for their poor form, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's just, it seems as though we're going around in circles. Like, one week we give opportunities to youngsters like Ashton Moyer. Now we get another opportunity for Matt Carroll. And then in the next breath, we're getting rid of youngsters that are actually performing at senior level. It's just so stupid. Brian, thanks for joining us, mate. Drop Doc instead. 100%. 100%. We all love Doc. We all love him. But we can, look back to his first game where he was underdone, granted, against the Lions in the elimination final. He was not good then. And that poor form has carried forth into 2025. And, there are so many moments that we can pinpoint, one of which was on the quarter break when he was marking a ball, I think it was against the Dogs, and literally a chest mark went through his hands and would have allowed us another scoring opportunity. And he just sat there, just like head in hands, looking at the ground, understanding that the game is probably passing him by. It happens to all players at some stage of their career, but he's not in good form. Totally right, Brian. Drop Doc instead. He's a senior player. We know that he has standards himself. We know with his body language, as I just mentioned there, that he is himself not happy with the way things are looking. Danny, thanks for joining us. I wish I wasn't on the money. That's the thing. I wish it was all speculation. And, what we're discussing here is kind of reading between the lines and trying to guess things, but it's just so, black and white, cut and dry. The way that the team is being selected, the decisions that are being made in the team selection room, just not good enough. And as I said, it links back to standards or lack thereof, which again links to form, links to the reason why players are perhaps, not performing on game day. Are we becoming too comfortable with, the way things are at the moment? And I mean, I'll chat about this in a further video, but there are systemic issues within the club, within the coaching staff, but even within the footy department themselves. Brad Lloyd, he's been at the club for 8 seasons now. We've had no success, and he's not being held to account by the likes of Brian Cook, who, as we know, he's a sort of, CEO that likes to sit back, hands off the wheel, and not really make any major changes. But I think off the back of that, we've allowed the likes of Brad Lloyd to become a little bit too comfortable in their role, not have to meet KPIs and not have to be held to account. And that's kind of now, I guess, it's seeped into the football department, into the coaching staff. Perhaps, as we speak about the lack of plan B on game day, the lack of, alternative structures and game plans when the opposition coaches work out what we're trying to do, and we perhaps fall on a heap in second halves. It's just, there are so many, and as you've said there, Danny, there's so many deep issues within the club itself. And we'll speak about this in greater detail in another video because I don't want to hijack this preview to the game. But it's all linked week in, week out. What we see at the selection table, it's not good enough. What will it take for players to be held to account? Will it potentially take a coach to be sacked? Potentially, I don't know. One thing I will say, one thing that I am confident in is Graham Wright now being at the club, shit is going to hit the fan at some stage or another. He is a personality in football that does not sit back and allow things to unravel. If he sees something as being wrong, there's going to be changes. And I tweeted about this as well. I don't know if you follow us on Twitter. Feel free to do so at Bluebaggers Edge. But my initial reaction to the team selection, which I'm chatting about now, was just with sheer frustration. And I mentioned it there in a tweet saying that, and I never wish this to ever happen from week to week. But you kind of almost need a flashpoint for changes to be made. And because, despite the fact we're 0-4, no players are being held to account, no coaches are being held to account, I almost, I obviously want us to get a win, but we don't want it to paper over cracks. Will it potentially take a loss to the Eagles for changes to be made? Maybe. Would I prefer that to happen? As opposed to the alternative where we maybe get a decent win against the Eagles. But how long does that last for? And does that extend things on where we probably should just rip off the Band-Aid? For me anyway, I think I've seen enough. I've seen enough on game day. I've seen enough in the lack of changes and the stupid moves in dropping players that, are probably setting good standards. It's just such a reverse. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. But let's chat about some positive news now. Let's have a quick chat about Harry Mackay. So, he's obviously, and I'll bring up a quote now as well. I did tweet about this. He was on his own podcast with his brother, of course, and he spoke about the issues that he was dealing with. And let me just get it up on screen now so we can speak to it. He said, late Feb, I was not in a great place mentally, and I pretended to be okay. As a male and someone who would hang their hat on being stoic, pushing through, the more I did that, the worse I felt. Since I put my hand up and asked for help, it's absolutely blown me away how caring and supportive everyone's been. And that there, I think, is a really good insight in terms of, for those of you out there that are tuning in and potentially, maybe, not quite aware, maybe something feels off, maybe you're feeling a little bit down. I do implore you to reach out to someone. Can be anyone. Can be a good mate. Can be your parents. Can be siblings. Can be anonymous people online. Slide into my DMs if need be. As he kind of touched on there is, he tried to push through it, and it's not possible at times to do that. And for him to put his hand up and say something was wrong is, shows incredible bravery and courage to do that. So, I think with Harry, and, it comes down to the personality of certain people. Everyone's got their breaking point. No matter how mentally strong you think you are, I think everyone has a breaking point, or a point where, you're potentially vulnerable. And I think with criticism that, comes with being, a public figure, whether it be, you're a sports person, an actor, whatever, the criticism and critique that comes with that, it can have an impact. And there's probably no surprise that Harry is one of those people that, as we can see, like, he's a confidence player. So for this to happen, probably no surprise. But as I said, it's one of those things that he should be applauded for. And I spoke about it, and I don't know if you can see it there in the top right-hand corner, but one thing that I am keen as a supporter base for us to do, and one thing I think would be a really, really good touching tribute to Harry, is at the 10-minute mark of our next game. It would be ideal to do it our next home game, but it won't happen for a few weeks. But considering this round, we're obviously playing away for West Coast, it wouldn't really work. But I would love nothing more than in the round 6 game against North, at the 10-minute mark of the first quarter, the entire supporter base attending the game gets up and gives Harry a standing ovation. Because, as he mentioned there in the back part of that quote, since asking for help, he's been blown away with how caring and supportive everyone's been. I think it would be a really, really good, boost to Harry, I think, mentally, to know that we're behind him. I mean, figuratively, he would know that we're behind him. We're supporters of him and the Carlton Football Club by extension. But I think for someone that has, been going through something, I think would mean an incredible amount to him, to do that. And as you mentioned there, Brian, glad Harry avoided the comment section. Harry doesn't deserve the negative, doesn't help anyone, 100%. And there were so many vicious rumors that were going around as well about Harry, which I absolutely hate. And it shits me when, a lot's been spoken about mental health, and I think we've come a long way as a society when it comes to talking about that, because, there's, obviously physical health, and it's something that is more tangible because we can see it. But when it comes to mental health, it's something that is obviously beneath the surface, and, is hard to sort of to see. And, I think it kind of maybe those people that of the mindset that, mental health isn't really a thing or isn't of importance. It is important. And I don't want to go, delve into statistics and kind of, dwell on the negative side of things. You're probably, understanding where I'm, what I'm alluding to there. But it is a massive part of society and something that needs to really be paid attention to. So, what you've said there, Brian, when this was announced, the amount of people that I saw in the comment section saying it's due to X, it's due to Y, it's due to Z, and, throwing out doubts and, you know, adding fuel to the fire, which probably could have put him in this mental headspace anyway. But people saying negative things about, Harry and, the topic of mental health as a whole absolutely shits me because I can guarantee, and there's statistics around this as well, but mental health is something that is not, confined to any one individual. I can guarantee at some stage in our lives individually, we will, hit roadblocks and have, things that we need to work through. And it annoys me because as a society, as a, human race, it really is only when someone goes through it themselves that they think, oh, wait, this is actually a serious thing. Yes, it is a serious thing, but it shouldn't have to get to that point. Like mental health is such a serious thing that it just it is so perplexing that, as I said, we've apparently come so far as a society in paying attention and shining a light on mental health that yet I still see comment sections where it's just the complete opposite and people just showing utter disrespect is just it makes me lose faith in humanity. It does really because just for people to have such a backwards mentality, it shows an insight into the underbelly of society that I just hate to see. And it's not just we talk about opposition supporter bases, Collingwood, how they're so toxic and all this and that. Have a look within ourselves. Every single supporter base has this, and just have a look at the comment section. That's all I'll say. And it's that sort of shit that the likes of Harry and whatnot have to put up with that, just contribute to these issues. There's critique, and then there's going the next level and becoming personal, which just isn't good enough. And he's had to deal with a whole heap of that. And his brother as well, like Ben, he had to deal with issues. To start the season, he was given the Bronx cheers when he finally took a mark, and it was in the first quarter, which is just it's so shit. And again, I know that they are professional athletes and they need to perform at a certain level, but becoming personal and the amount of vicious rumors that I saw being circulated about Harry is just kind of overstepping the mark. It's not good enough. Danny, you said that would be a nice touch. Really do wish him well. Happy that he's getting the help he needs and he's getting support from various places, CFC and beyond. It's a serious issue that can impact anyone 100%. And that's it. At the end of the day, I never want to see anyone in this headspace. And yeah, it's a pretty serious thing. I mean, enough has been spoken about it, so probably should move on. But I wanted to bring it up because I couldn't help it. It is a positive to see Harry back, but at the same time, I just wanted to address that because yeah, it's pretty shit. Weenus, I feel what you're saying. I think the club's HR team has put way too much emphasis on being psychologically safe. It's a relatively recent focus in the corporate world that can soften people. I'm not pointing the finger at H, just an observation. I understand your perspective as well, Weenus, and I don't want to discredit or discount anyone's opinion on this. But what I will say is mental health is something that isn't confined to, and you mentioned it there, it isn't confined to any one industry. Like it's a broad spectrum thing that no matter what industry you're working in, even those people that aren't actually working, like people go through troubles in their lives that are quite unique to themselves. And because of that, people are quite vulnerable to, their different mental health battles. And everyone will go through it at some stage or another in different varying degrees. It was unfortunate with Harry. He kind of was at the upper end of the spectrum. But as he kind of touched on in his podcast as well, and as he sort of alludes to there with that quote, is that he was going through issues that were kind of stacking up. And the issue with, I guess, pushing things back and trying to put on a brave face is that they kind of, as I said, they just stack up, and it gets to a point where there's a breaking point, and it's just lucky that he sought help for it, because there are people who don't. And I will say this, that again, if you're going through issues, speak up, speak to someone. It's not, you are not soft um, in speaking up and seeking help. And it is a relatively recent thing. It still is a recent thing, and we are getting better as a society. But I think there is still so much to be done, and it's these negative comments and whatnot that kind of are still, it's one step forward, two steps back in light of these comments that I'm seeing. So anyway, there's enough on that we've discussed there. So let's move on to, I guess, back to the footy side of things. And what I just sort of want to have a look at here is in terms of the matchup. So the Eagles, obviously without Gov themselves, they have Sandy Brock, who's a second gamer. This is the area of the ground that we should be exploiting the Eagles. It speaks for itself, really. Ryan Marrick is virtually a seagull. He, to me, is like another Witherden who counts his stats. I mean, there was a moment, I don't know if you guys saw it, the West Coast game on the weekend, where he was taking a kick in and stepped out of the box and stepped back in order for that kick to count as a disposal. If I saw that as a senior coach, I would be pulling him aside and saying, mate, what the bloody hell are you doing? Like, he made the kick, to his credit, but when you're doing that sort of stuff, to me mentally, it's like, are you actually playing a team game? Because that was very such a not a selfish play, but something that I think is kind of bordering on that. So he's someone that I think we can really stretch as well. He's there more as that quarterback attacking defender. Sandy Brock is his second game, looked pretty good, to his credit. Harry Edwards been in and out of the team for the Eagles, and yeah, is another player that we could exploit. And it's a really prime opportunity, I think, with Harry coming back in, Twin Towers, Charlie Curnow. We really need to work on our setup and structure. And I point to the game last night between the Crows and the Cats, and I was really impressed with the way that the Crows, utilized their three tall forward setup, Fogarty, Tex Walker, and the big fella with a beard, the big lumberjack in Thilthorpe. And the way they did it was they had two of their forwards pushing up the ground, and it was almost staggered. So one was on the 50-meter arc, one was pushed up towards the wing, and Tex was sort of more often than not that stay-at-home forward. Now, I think back to when I saw that, and they all have their own roles individually. They have their own leading patterns, and it allowed Tex, who kicked the first goal of the game, have a look at. You don't have to watch the entire game, but I implore people, go back and check out the first goal that was kicked by Adelaide by Tex Walker. And they all contributed, like Fogarty, Thilthorpe, and Tex. Like, they forced the opposition defenders to come out of their defensive 50 and allow a one-on-one between Tex Walker and his opponent, who snapped truly. Looked really good. Like, not once did they go up for the same ball. Not once did they clash and, have, leading patterns that intersected. And, from what I see and from what I recall with Harry and Charlie, that was just like guiding the same space. They'd get in each other's way. They'd both go up for the same mark, so on and so forth. Like, we've spoken about it enough. But the way that Adelaide set things up, I was like, shit, how do they make it look so easy when, we've struggled for so long with our setup with two Coleman medalists? Like, well, what are we doing? What are we doing? Brian, you've said Marek is from Druin and Harry is from Morrigal. There you go. They might play on each other. That'd be interesting. And, of course, Harry would absolutely tell him up. That's for sure. But, yeah, that's definitely an area that I think that we should be stretching them in terms of their forward line themselves. They've got Oscar Allen and Waterman as sort of their two-prong setup now. Waterman coming back into the team. Wieders has been in incredible form, probably our best performer across 2025 thus far. Should play on Oscar Allen. Waterman, he could actually stretch McGovern. McGovern hasn't been in the best form. Spoke about it the top of the chat here, this video, Pete. Thanks for joining us, mate. Had a chat about him, Doc, and the likes of Jesse Motlop as well, to a degree. There are other players as well. Cottrell's probably one of those players. Lucky to find himself back in the team. But yeah, I don't want to be going over the same ground again for those people that that tuned in early on. But yeah, you're totally right. Like, he should have been made an example of. And I don't know what it's going to take for him to be, for that to happen. Don't know. But good to see. I mean, Zach Williams back off half-back. I don't mind that, especially considering we've got another small forward in Corey Durden back in the team. Probably makes sense in that regard. Let's just round things out with expectations. What I will say is, let's just actually go to the match center, have a quick look, team stats, and, in terms of the averages, we should be beating the Eagles across the park, which is what we are, disposals-wise. Inside 50s. We've got 11 more inside 50s. The Eagles actually have a better disposal efficiency compared to us. Probably no surprise there. Efficiency inside 50, the Eagles have 9% more. I think the other part of the game is obviously in the middle. Without Tim Kelly there, it does expose them a fair bit more. So if we don't win in the middle, there's something wrong. Absolutely something wrong. We might just, as well, we've got 5 minutes up our sleeve. So if anyone wants to jump on, I might just share this link, and people can jump on and have a bit of a chat. But expectations, I will say, we've got to get a win. This is like the game against the Tigers, but it's a team that's probably just as inexperienced as the Tigers. So this is a danger game. There's no two ways about it. Again, it's a game that will be a true barometer. If we lose this game, Michael Voss is gone. I don't care if you're Brian Cook and you want to sit on your hands. He's got to go. He's got to go. I've lost all faith already with him. I don't want to see him as senior coach beyond this season, anyway, as it is. But if things if things turn pear-shaped again, which can definitely happen, he's gone. Lack of changes in the assistant coaching staff, spoke about that as well in previous videos. They have to be held to just as much as account as what Voss will be. But it might be for the best. It might be, short-term pain for long-term gain, in a sense, if we were to lose against the Eagles. I don't want us to lose. I really don't. But as I said, there's another part of me that's like, well, let's just rip off the Band-Aid. So I'm expecting a win, obviously. We should be winning, and by a fair margin. They've played teams into form. So, yep. Brian, you've said might need a better player to drop Gov for. We probably don't. And that's the thing. We don't have the depth as well, which is a big issue. But even so, I'd much prefer to have us drop Gov and, make a statement and bring in Matt Carroll, which is what we've done, and have him play off centre half back. Or even throw Kemp back in defence if need be. And, that way Matt Carroll isn't thrown to the wolves in his first game in a key post, because sort of that third, defensive tall is probably the role for him. But yeah, you're totally right. That's a big issue. It's a big issue. We might leave it there, ladies and gents. I don't think anyone is keen to jump on, which is totally fine. We might do that for another live stream for a better occasion when we have a little bit more time up our sleeves. But we might just keep this quick fire and just let us know. Let us know what your thoughts are, expectations heading to this game, key matchups. Let us know, above all else, your thoughts around the team selection side of things, because I am at the point where it is shitting me, and I am dreading seeing the team selections from week to week because they are so backwards. But let us know. Am I alone? Am I alone in thinking about that? But that's it, ladies and gents. Thanks as always for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. A bit of a therapy session as well, a bit of a vent. But we are here to support each other at the end of the day. I hope, above all else, Harry can come out, kick an absolute bag, and really be embraced with open arms, as he will be by his teammates and, of course, by the supporter base as a whole. But it'd be a really good thing to see him get back in form on his first return game. So thank you as always for tuning in. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Really do appreciate that. And it really does show me, if you are enjoying the content that I am putting out, liking the video is a good thing. But above all else, once I see the subscriber numbers, if I see them grow and I'm like, okay, well, people are actually enjoying the content that we're putting out. So if you are in that category, feel free to give us a subscribe. Really do appreciate that. Just closing comments here. Danny, thanks for a great show, mate. Have a top weekend. Go Blues. I think we might get the 4 points. I hope. Very good point. Cheers, mate. Thank you, Danny, for tuning in, mate, and contributing to the show above all else, because that's why I love to do the live streams. A bit of back and forth chats and discussion. So thank you in turn, mate, and have a great weekend. And likewise is to you, Jay. I do see you on Twitter, mate, and I really do appreciate your support ongoing from week to week. So thank you. And thank you, everyone else, for tuning in. If you have been here from the start or jumped on midstream, it's all the same to me. Really do appreciate the support. With that, we will end things there, and let us hope we come away with our first win for 2025. We'll see how we go. If not the end of the world, because, as I said, changes will be made, and more likely than not, they need to be made. So we'll see how things go. But with that, let us say, go Baggers. All the best. Have a good weekend. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Have you ever heard the MCG like that?